This is lesson number 2 from XaraTemplate.com, and in this tutorial we'll be going over Xara Web Designer 7 Premium, and we'll be covering how to use the info bar and how it relates to the toolbar tools. Then we'll go over editing a square, circle, and star, and lastly we'll cover the tools mode in relationship to quick shapes and choosing options such as radius, diameter, and bounds creation. Don't worry if you don't understand some of the jargon that I've mentioned. We'll cover that during the tutorial. So if you haven't already, go ahead and start a new document with a blank workspace. Now that you have that open, let's go ahead and select the quick shape option in your toolbar. As you see right here, there's a couple other options. As mentioned in lesson number 1, if there's a little arrow next to the quick shape or whatever tool that you have selected in the toolbar, it'll pop out an extra menu, and we're going to want to choose the square. So let's go ahead and select the square. And when you select the square, if you haven't noticed, this info bar up here changes. And to demonstrate that, let's go ahead and select the selection tool. Notice how this goes back to a blank space. There's no options that you can select. Everything's blacked out. Well, this is your current info bar, and it'll change based on what tool you have selected here. So remember, whatever tool you choose here in this toolbar will make this info bar change. The info bar is essentially extra options that you have related to the tool that you choose within the toolbar. So when we have the selection tool selected, everything in this info bar will be related to the selection tool. And when we choose the quick shape square, watch as I choose it, it's going to change. You notice the options change. These are all related to the square. Now I don't expect you to know these already, which is one of the reasons I'm going to go through it with you. So now that you have the square tool selected, if you've left clicked on it, go ahead up to the info bar here. And the info bar spans from the left all the way to the right. As you see, there's no other options. These are the only options related to that tool, not the ones up here. This is a different bar that we'll go over in a different tutorial. But this bar down here is your tool bar, and that's spanning from left to right, this full thing. Just want to emphasize that to make sure you understand which bar is related to the options in the toolbar here. So now that we have it selected, let's go ahead and uncheck the curved corners here in the info bar. We're not going to use that right now, we'll use it later. And go ahead and check the box that says bounds creation. And if you've left clicked on that, let's go to the canvas and left click, drag to the right. And you notice it drags from the origin to the right. Or you could drag upward from the origin to the right, or downward left to the bottom, or upward to the left. It always drags from the origin. So wherever you start the cursor to the right, it's going to make your square. Now it's not a perfect square. Essentially you can make it a rectangle, or you could keep it a square, rectangle, square, whichever you want. So you let go of that, and that's how you use the bounds creations. Now let's go ahead and select the diameter creation. Now let's see what happens when we do this drawing with the diameter creation. You'll notice again it drags from the origin, but we can move it around the axis point. So wherever you drew the starting point outward, that's your axis, and you can drag in any direction. It's not locked to a specific angle. You can drag 360 degrees in any direction. So a little bit more flexibility when you're using the diameter creation tool. So you can drop that anywhere you want. Let's go ahead and select the radius creation and see what that can do. Now the radius, I meant to say radius. With the radius tool mode selected, you can drag it equally in all directions. That means every side of the square is equally increasing at the same rate in all the same directions. As you can see, every direction it increases equally. And so that's the benefit of using the radius tool. You can equally drag. It doesn't drag to the left or right, it drags to the center point of your orientation. So hopefully that's easy to understand, and hopefully you've got a grasp on that. Let's go ahead and get rid of some of these squares. Just left click on it and delete, left click, delete, left click, delete. And let's go ahead and select the rectangle tool again. This time we're going to add curvature or curved corners to the square. So let's check that box by left clicking. And again, this is the info bar. Don't forget that info bar. This is going to give you extra information about the tools that you're using over here. That's probably the simplest way to understand. So when you select the tool from the toolbar, you get extra information from the info bar. So let's go ahead and draw a square again, and you notice that it has curved corners. And by the way, we're going to select bounds creation because that's a little bit easier. I'm used to working with that one. So let's draw another square actually. So yeah, we've got the curved corners here after we draw the square. And the way that you adjust that is you choose one of the outer nodes on the corner. You see these two nodes here? Those two nodes allow you to adjust the curvature by dragging down or upward when it's on the side. By left click, drag down, it's more of a circle. Drag up, it more of so puts curves on each corner. And you can do that with any of the outer nodes on each corner. So if I want to do that over here, I could drag inward, outward. If I want to do it here, I can drag downward, upward, to the right or left to decrease the curvature, right to increase it. It's really simple. If you play around with it, you'll see that it's not really complicated to understand how to increase or decrease the curvature. And if you wanted to, alternatively, you could go to the info bar again. Remember, that's the information that's extra to whatever you choose in the toolbar here. But with this option here, it says primary curvature ratio. That determines your ratio value. If you want to increase it, you press the right arrow. If you want to decrease it, press to the left. And if you go far enough, it'll actually become a circle. It's a perfect circle if you increase it high enough. If you decrease it, it will become a perfect square. So you can choose your depth in increments using this tool here, and you can also enter those values manually. If I wanted 0.13 and hit enter, it'll be 0.13, or if I picked 0.5, it would increase by that value. So that's how you change the curvature of the square. That's how you manipulate the square using different tool modes from the info bar. And you can also adjust the width and height if you go to this drop down menu here and choose width and height. The first value here, the width, will change the width of the square. So if I increase that by pressing the right arrow, it increases it, it becomes more like a rectangle. If I decrease it, it becomes more like a square the closer it gets, and eventually it'll become a rectangle again if you get close enough, a rounded rectangle essentially. You can increase the height using the bottom option to increase the height of the object, and it increases equally in both directions. If you decrease it, it decreases equally in both directions, and that applies to both the width and the height tool. And this is in pixel format. If you want to do inches, you could put 1 in. It would increase it by 1 inches, but it'll convert it to pixel format. So you can determine your value by changing the px to in. So if you wanted 2 inches, you'd put 2 in, enter, and it increases the height to where it's exactly 2 inches tall. And that's if you want to do it in inches. You don't have to. You can leave it in pixel format and say you want to do 300 pixels. You could do 300 pixels high. So that's the rectangle quick shape, and as you can see, it can be changed into a totally different shape when you start messing with the options in the toolbar available up here. The info bar that's up here. This allows you to manipulate it. And you can change it using these options up here, or you can change it using the nodes. So let's go ahead and move on to the next quick shape. Let's go ahead and delete these objects that we have on our workspace. Left click and delete. Left click, delete, and let's select the circle next. Now with the circle, it's a little bit more unique. Let's go ahead and select the bounds creation from the info bar. Left click it, and let's click and drag and see what it does. You'll notice that I can kind of create an oval shape. Again, it drags from the point of origin equally, but we can make it kind of like an oval shape. So anytime you want to do an oval type of shape, it's best that you choose the bounds creation tool. Now let's see what the diameter creation allows you to do. The diameter creation, when you drag it from the origin, it drags an equal circle. You can't make an oval shape, and it rotates around that axis point from where you've drawn. So like if I draw from here, this is my axis point, I drag out, it's going to rotate around that center axis point, but it drags out to an equal circle. Let's go ahead and check out the radius creation tool mode from the info bar, and you'll notice that it drags straight from the center. It doesn't rotate around the axis, it drags just from the straight center of the object. So you want to draw a perfect circle and you know about the center point where you want it, just drag out and it'll be lined up exactly with the other circles. See how I line those up vertically? Because I'm drawing from the center point, I'm estimating where this would line up equally vertically. So those are a couple of different ways that you can draw a circle using the extra information from the info bar. And that's about it. There's some other things you could do that I won't get into using the info bar. Well, you know what, I'll go ahead and cover it. If you choose center from this option here and select an object, the center is essentially saying that you can adjust the X and Y values. So just like in math class, you learn about the X and Y values on a graph. If I press the right key for the arrow to increase, it'll move it on the X axis. And if you move it to the left, it moves left on the X axis. If you move up, if you increase the value, it'll move down on the Y axis. If you reduce the value, it'll move up on the Y axis. And that's in relationship to your workspace. So like if I put this at 0 and hit enter, it's going to move me to Y at 0. So this origin point here is lined up exactly with the 0 point of this document because I set it to 0. And if I set this to 0, now it's at 0, 0 of this workspace. So this is 0, 0 in your workspace. That's why it was a negative value to go down on the y-axis and the positive value to go up. Alright, so that should cover the circle. Let's go ahead and delete all these objects. You can hit Control A, or you can manually left click each circle that you've drawn and delete. Alright, let's go ahead and move on to the star. The star is a very unique shape. It has a little bit more options. And let me go ahead and select the circle again so you can see it change the info bar. When I select the star, you'll see that all these options up here have changed. And again, we're going to want to deselect the curved corners, so let's left click and select the starred shapes in the info bar and make sure the create polygons is selected as well. Let's go ahead and draw our star. As you can see, I have a pretty nice star here. If you don't, you may want to check the number of sides in your info bar. If you have it set too low or too high, it won't look like a star. Like if I had 4, it doesn't look like a regular star, it looks like more like a ninja star. So you want to have at least 5 sides selected. So let's go ahead and see what else we can do using the info bar. If you click the drop down menu, you'll see that we can adjust the stellation radius and offset, and this is going to allow us to get some really unique shapes. Let's go to this top part here now that we have stellation radius and offset set, and you'll see that it says stellation radius. Well, if you increase that value, you get less of a star shape. It kind of goes more to a polygon, more type of shape like what we see here in the info bar. But if you decrease that value, it's going to become more like a star. You see, the more that we decrease it, the more it becomes apparent that we're creating a star. If you increase it, it becomes more of a thicker, fatter type of star. Now if we go to stellation offset, that kind of controls the rotation of the star. So it kind of curves the center to where it kind of turns your sides. See how the sides are kind of curved? And if you increase that value, it will curve to the right. Or if you decrease it, it will curve to the left. So it's kind of just distorting your star in a way by increasing or decreasing that value for the stellation offset. Let's go ahead and add rounded corners. So if you left select the curved corners in the info bar, you now get curved corners on your stars, you can see here. So let's select that again, and if you go to this drop down menu again in the info bar, you'll see that we have a new option called curvature, and you can adjust the curvature using these values here: primary curvature ratio and stellation curvature ratio. Primary one will adjust the curvature of each of your sides. As you can see, it looks kind of like a, fancy cookie or something that you could buy, and if you decrease that, it looks closer to a star. If you decrease it long enough, it'll become sharp on each of these corners here if you decrease that stellation for primary curvature ratio. So let's increase that a little bit. And again, stellation curvature ratio at the bottom, which is not the primary, that's the difference. This is the primary, and this is the stellation curvature ratio. It's going to control how it curves the object, and you'll see what I mean. If you press inward, it looks more like a star. If you press outward, it looks less like a star. It looks more like a polygon type of shape. As you can see, more of a polygon shape. But if you let me go back to curvature. If you go ahead and you not clicking it right here, and you decrease that value, it looks more like a star. See, it looks more like a star. If you increase it, select curvature, it's going to look less like a star, more like a polygon type of shape. So that's some of the things that you can do with the star shape. Let me go ahead and show you again what you can do if you select the different tools modes in this info bar. If you select bounce creation, it'll drag from the left. If you drag from the left, and it'll increase from that direction. And if you drag from the right, it's going to do that. Drag from the left. And this one's more of, you have to kind of look at it to see what's happening. It's just dragging the shape. It's not equal. It allows you to kind of, create an odd shape if you want, depending on which angle you change the cursor to. So I can make it really, some weird looking shape. So basically, if you want to make weird looking shapes with the star, use the bounce creation tool, because it'll allow you to kind of distort the standard star look. If you choose the diameter creation, it's going to create a star on its axis. So if you drag from this center point out, it's going to drag around that origin point and outward. So you can twirl your mouse around to see that you can bring it in any direction, 360 degrees, up, down, left, right, whichever direction you want to. The last one you have here from the tools bar, from the info bar, is the radius creation. My words today are horrible. Alright, so the radius creation allows you to drag from the center point and outward. And you'll see that here. It drags from the center outward. It doesn't rotate around an axis point. It drags strictly from the center and rotates around the center point. So it's pretty unique. You can adjust how you want to twist the star. And as you can see, I'm having a little bit of fun here, twisting the star around like a ninja star. But yeah, let's get back to business here. Alright, well, I believe I've covered everything that you should know for right now until a more advanced tutorial on how to manipulate quick shapes. So if you have any questions, please let me know by sending me a message on YouTube, and also make sure you subscribe to our videos so you can stay updated on when we make further releases. And again, if you have any questions, please send us a message and we'll do our best to help you. And we may even make an additional video if we feel it's necessary to cover anything that you feel that we've missed. And also, please make sure you check out our website too at xaratemplate.com. Pay us a visit there, and you can also sign up for the newsletter on our website, and they'll keep you up to date on any new templates that we have available and coming out, and any kind of special discounts, that kind of thing. Thanks again for watching this video, and stay tuned because we'll be bringing plenty more training sessions for you in Xara Web Designer 7 to help you get closer to developing your website. Have a wonderful day.